Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cookie Cast. Today on Cookie Cast is the football podcast. We're a man down. I'm afraid. One of our team is unavailable for this week's football podcast, but do not fret. Everyone else is here, and we are bringing you the football news, game reviews, game previews, our predictions, everything you could possibly want from a football podcast. Before we start, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Drop reviews where you can drop reviews. That helps the podcast out a lot. And just share the podcast around. We would love it if you would share this podcast. Right, let's talk some football. Here we go. This is Cookie Cast, the football podcast.
Recording in progress.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the good lady has spoken, and she has given the edict that it is indeed time for your weekly dose of football-based nonsense to come your way. Don't be fooled, people viewing on YouTube. You have tuned into the right podcast. Just because I've got this on doesn't mean that we're talking about an egg-shaped ball. We are indeed talking about a round-shaped ball. And not only a round-shaped ball, an English round-shaped ball. That is correct. It is your football fix for this week. The eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that we're a man down this week. Sadly, Mr. Moore not able to join us this week, but we have got his predictions to give later on, and we will be breaking down his team's game first when we come to last week's predictions. So, in his stead, it's just myself, along with the host of the Cookie Cast Network, Mr. Andrew Cook. How are you, sir?
Oh, absolutely fantastic.
We love to hear it. And bringing us all of the news from not just Hull City, but basically the East Riding as a whole, I decided to just tell him 2 seconds ago. It is, of course, Mr. Stuart Woodmansey. How are you, sir?
Hello. Well, the lesser man would be a little bit fazed by that, but nothing really happens here apart from football. So definitely no egg chasing that we'll speak of ever. So yeah, I'm fine.
Well, I mean, I was more talking about the fact that all those North Ferriby fans that tune in on a regular basis are just itching to hear about their team and how they're getting on in. I don't even want to guess. Because I don't even think they're in the National League North now, are they?
Be like Northern Premier or something.
Something like that, yeah. So, week 27 has been and gone. So, like I said, he's not here to discuss it, but the first game of week 27 was Nottingham Forest versus Manchester City. Now, the majority of us on the podcast had this down as a thumping Manchester City win. Myself and Stu both going for 3-1 wins. Matt, the actual Nottingham Forest fan, going for a 4-0 win. We'll get to Mr. Cook's prediction in a little while. So, let's just break down some of the stats, shall we, from this game. So, stats overall. Possession, Nottingham Forest, 27%. 73% possession to Manchester City. Total shots, Manchester City, 23. Nottingham Forest total shots, 4. Total shots on target, 6 for Manchester City. Total shots on target for Nottingham Forest, 1.
Hang on. You said, was it 27 shots they had, but only 6? I mean, that's not a very good... what were they doing? Just peppering them from the halfway line?
Well, this is where it gets confusing, because total shots 23, on target 6, so you would think they're 17 off target, yeah? No, just the 11. So 6 shots have gone. So 6 shots have either been so far off target that they're not classed as shots. Oh no, they still must be classed as shots. I don't know how that stat's broken down.
It's maybe like if it's like a block, so they can't
that's
count.
what I was thinking of. The only sort of explanation: a blocked shot or a charge down shot or something like that. Anyway, back to the stats. So total number of passes: Manchester City 676, Nottingham Forest 252. Oh, I could keep going, but those are all the stats you need to know. So yeah,
what you're telling me, right, is that we've predicted them to get absolutely pumped, and them stats tell us that they got absolutely pumped.
Those stats would certainly fit in the narrative that Manchester City absolutely humped Nottingham Forest here. Andy, do you want to just tell us what this game finished as, by any chance?
I'd love to tell you. Was it 1-1?
It was 1-1, and in the predictions, old Nostradamus over there had his goggles firmly on the top of his head as he predicted a 1-1 draw, to which we all obviously scoffed heartily on last week's podcast. Oh, silly Andrew. How could he possibly go with that prediction? Well, more fool us as being foolish men, as it did indeed finish 1-1. Goal scorers, however, no one got any points, as we all either had a combination of Johnson and Gibbs-White. There was some Haalands in there for Manchester City. Gundogan, De Bruyne, Alvarez, Mahrez. None of those players scored. Manchester City, it took until the 40th minute, I believe, let me just double check, to break down Man City Forest's defences. 41st minute, the goal was scored by Bernardo Silva, and obviously was just the latest in a long line of Manchester City attacks, where they were kind of putting them to the sword. A lot of wasted chances. Erling Haaland was amongst the main culprits, to be honest with you, with his missing a lot of chances to score against the club that his dad previously had played for, of course. And then obviously it's the age-old saying, 1-0. If you don't take your chances whilst you're on top, you're always susceptible to getting hit on the break, hit with a sucker punch, and in the 84th minute, that is indeed what happened as Chris Wood popped up at the back stick. Could not miss. I think he scored from about 1 yard out to get the equaliser. Man City couldn't force a winner in the last sort of 7 minutes of the game, and it finished 1-1. So from a Manchester City perspective, 2 huge points dropped in the race for the title, but obviously for Forest, a point that they definitely would not have thought they were going to get at the start of the day or even at the start of the season. So, from a predictions perspective, Andy's the only one who scores there, and not only does he get 1, he gets 2 points for the correct scoreline. So, well done to you, sir. The rest of us yet to get off the mark. Our second game of the week takes us to the East Riding of Yorkshire, where Hull City were taking on Preston North End. This was the second Saturday where not a lot happened, shall I say?
Well, there was a pre-match. There was a minute's silence for the victims of the Turkey and Syrian earthquakes. So, I mean, that was nice of them to do that. And the club obviously have strong links to Turkey with the owner, so they're quite heavily promoting the donations for the British Red Cross. So if you feel that you can, there is that option. I'd like to say the game took everybody's minds away from the minute's silence, but they might as well have had another 90 minutes silence because nothing happened. It's the first time since October that Hull haven't scored at home. It is, however, the third consecutive clean sheet. I mean, I love the stats with the October thing in, because let's not forget they didn't play really for November, December. But yeah, the Hull had more possession, threatened more throughout, but clear-cut chances were pretty minimal, all told. The only kind of sort of stat that kind of rings true to that is that in 90 minutes, Preston North End had 0 shots on target. So it must be, if you think it's bad to have 2 0-0 draws in 2 weeks, imagine being a Preston fan where you've got to watch your full squad not be able to do the thing that the game was invented for an entire game. Hull had 4, but alas, in much the opposite of the Nottingham Forest Man City game, there was no sucker punch, there were no goals, and that's probably about the most amount of time I can talk about a 0-0 draw without going to jump out the window now. So.
One of the things, obviously we covered it earlier in the season, there was that raft of games that Preston were involved in that was, I don't know if it was a case of was it the first 6 or 7 games they didn't concede?
It was nuts, wasn't it? They were like, I think for an element of last season, though, as well, I seem to remember, they were almost considered like the draw specialists. So they know how to grind out a result, and it seems to be kicking back in. The couple of things to note from the weekend's action, actually, that there was no Jean-Michel Seri and there was no Aaron Connolly, which Paul really won't care about. But Seri's out for a groin for a groin strain for a month. Apparently felt it after the game against Norwich, and Connolly somehow has broken his toe. But I missed the bit where it said how it happened, so he could have kicked the bed or he could have just tried to take a pass. I'm not sure. But he's definitely broken a toe. In other news,
I was just going to say I would certainly suggest that he definitely did something to the bed, but kicked it probably not the best thing to suggest. He definitely would have missed it.
The other news as well was that, just as a little cheeky aside for the man that's not here this week, it has been confirmed that Newcastle are unable to recall keeper Carl Darlow from his loan spell at Hull for Sunday's Carabao Cup final for Newcastle. What a shame.
Of course, we don't cover teams that play in black and white stripes on this podcast, sadly. But yes, one of the narratives of the weekend that did make me chuckle quite heartily, also at the same time as laughing at Mr. Cook for his impudence at selecting a 1-1 draw in the Manchester City-Nottingham Forest game, was the fact that Newcastle had their keeper sent off, and now he won't be able to play it in their first cup final in nearly 20 years. More than 20 years, in fact. But nevertheless, we'll go back to the Hull game. So, predictions-wise, we had all predicted Hull wins. Andy 1-0, myself and Stu 2-0, Matt 3-0. As it was 0-0, no points for goal scorers. Let's move on, shall we? So, our final game of the week. So, my boys, at home against Queen's Park Rangers. Now, going into this game, I believe the stat was that QPR hadn't lost on their last 5 trips to the Riverside, something like that, or hadn't lost in the last 5 matchups against Borough. And first half, it kind of went that way. Not from the highlights that I saw, not an awful lot happened. QPR had the best of the chances in the first half. From the highlights, anyway, they had the one shot that was forced wide by a block from one of the guys at the back. I believe it was Paddy McNair from the Borough perspective. And it kind of sort of it continued into the second half where Borough were just really struggling to break them down until it got to the 64th minute when Dan Barlaser got the ball just outside the box and just clipped a lovely ball into the right near the penalty spot, just where the keeper is, like in that sort of middle ground of doesn't know whether to go, doesn't know whether to stay. Ended up doing neither, and the man of the moment, Chuba Akpom, manages to get himself on the end of it and just a lovely bullet header straight into the back of the net to ease some of the tension around the stadium and put the Borough 1-0 in the lead. On the 77th minute, ball was played through for the Riley McGree to latch onto. He burst into the box. in the post-match press conference, the QPR manager Neil Critchley said that he thought the penalty that was given was harsh. Having seen it back, I kind of agree. Not the strongest shout for a penalty I've ever seen, but if you watch the challenge that the QPR guy makes, it's a foolish challenge to be making. He slides in from a good 5 yards away, and doesn't get anywhere near the ball. Whether or not he gets a touch on McGree is for another time. But the ref gave the penalty, obviously no VAR in the Championship, so it couldn't be overturned. Akpom steps up, misses the penalty, sticks in the rebound. Good lad. Nice and comfortable, 2-0. Gets to the 89th minute. Nice and comfortable. QPR get a free kick on the right-hand side. Absolutely no danger at all. Stefan takes a slight step off his line. And Elias Chair just whips a free kick from about 35 yards out straight into the net. Stefan makes himself look like a bit of a goon. Slightly nervous last couple of minutes for the Borough. Didn't have to worry though, as obviously I don't know if it was straight from the kickoff. In the 92nd minute, Matt Crooks gets onto the end of a long ball that's come over the top, squares the ball across. Riley McGree picks it up, slots it straight in the back of the net for 3-1, and game over. So, from a predictions perspective, we all had Middlesbrough winning the game in one shape or form. Matt and Andy had gone for 2-0. Andy had gone for Archer and Fours to score, so Sandy just gets the 1 point for that there. Matt had 2-0 with Akpom and Archer to score, so gets himself 2 points for that particular game. I had 3-0, so that Chair goal really shafted me there. I had Akpom, Archer and Fours to score, so I just got myself a bonus point there for the goal scorer. So 2 points for myself there. Mr. Woodmansey was the only one who gave Queen's Park Rangers a goal, which is impressive, as we don't have any QPR fans on the podcast or in the room, so I don't really know what he was thinking there. But he went for Akpom to get 2, which he did. Archer and Fours to get the other goals for the Borough, and he also had Chair to score for Queen's Park Rangers, so gets himself another bonus point. So the week's scores are as follows: myself and Mr. Moore, 2 points respectively. Andy with that great start with the correct scoreline in the City Forest game, got himself 2 points, and then get himself a bonus point for the Borough score to get himself 3. But taking the win with a whopping 4 points in the final game, it is indeed Mr. Stuart Woodmansey. Well done to you, sir.
Oh, well, I'll absolutely. Borough clearly just need to score a lot every week, and that's how we will get the points.
Clearly. So, that brings us on to week 28. And we start the week with the guy who's not actually in the room. It is West Ham United versus Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. First of 3 games this week. So, it is Mr. Moore's team. I do have his prediction, so I will give it last in the usual scheme of things. I'll just jump in first, as I've got my prediction ready and roaring to go here. I've gone for a 1-1 draw in this game. Old boy rule is in effect, and no, it's not Jesse Lingard, as Mr. Moore pointed out to us in his pre-show notes, which I thought that was hilarious. Mr. Lingard sadly injured, unavailable to play. I've gone for Mikhail Antonio to score for West Ham, and I've gone for Scarpa, Gustavo Scarpa, to score for Nottingham Forest. Mr. Cook, what have you got for this one?
Simple, easy, clean. 1-0 Forest win. Johnson.
It's possibly the scoreline and scorer I have wrote the most in this season's book. Mr. Woodmansey, your prediction?
I feel like you could get a stamp made for Andy that just says 1-0 Johnson like a book every time.
I'll sign that off. I'll get it engraved.
Unfortunately for Matt, because I think they did so well last week, I have a horrible feeling about it this week. So I've gone for 1-0 West Ham with Hull old boy Jared Bowen to score the goal.
Interesting. So kind of old boy rule, but kind of not old boy rule in a kind of weird way. So
it's like old boy rule multiverse at this point.
Very much so, very much so. So Mr. Moore agreed with one of us, and it's Mr. Woodmansey. He's gone for West Ham to win this game 1-0 with Antonio to score the goal. So he kind of agrees with two of us, I suppose. That takes care of the Premier League business. We move into the Championship, and our first game there sees Bristol City taking on Hull City. It's another weekend where all of our teams are playing away from home. Don't like it. No home games. It's terrible. I have Mr. Moore's prediction in front of me right here, so I will give that first. He has gone for a 1-1 draw. Naki Wells to score for Bristol City. Oscar Estupinian to score for Hull. He's been off the boil for a while now. That goal must surely be coming sooner rather than later. Andy, what have you got for this one?
So, very similar. Just take away the Bristol City goal.
So 0-1.
0-1 Estepinian. I agree. He's due a goal.
You would have thought so. I agree with Matt. I have also gone for a 1-1 draw. And I believe I'm about to bring two new names to this season's podcast. So I've gone for Mehmeti to score for Bristol City. And, oh good Lord, why have I put this name down? Ibowe? Ibiui?
Ebiowe.
Bless you.
Let's go with Malcolm.
Go on then. Hull fan, what have you gone for?
Just to round out the complete set of results, I have gone for a Bristol 1-0 win.
Oh, goal scorer?
Scott. This game will, of course, always be remembered as the repeat of the playoff final from 2008, which got Hull City their position in the Premier League for the first time ever. Our game week winds down and rounds out with West Bromwich Albion taking on Middlesbrough. This is somewhat of a Williams household derby, as my better half's family emanates from West Bromwich, or certainly the area that would sort of take in. So obviously my team, so I will go last. Matt has gone for a 2-2 draw on this one. He's gone for Thomas Asante and Wallace to score for West Brom. Akpom and Fours to score for Borough. Now, before I take the predictions of you two, I will just point out at this point that Tuber Akpom is on 19 league goals for the season. And I will point out that, what I believe I have said on the podcast before, Middlesbrough have not had a 20-goal-a-season league striker since 1989. Don't know if that's going to change your opinion on your predictions. I will come to you, Stu, for your prediction, please. Scale it down one for a 1-1 draw. For completely Swift for West Brom and Archer for the Borough.
Very, very nice. Mr. Cook?
0-2 Archer. And he's getting that 20th goal. That's right. It's Tuba.
Trust me, there will be no happier person than myself if that is the case. I do, however, think that particular stat might play on his mind for the next couple of weeks, and I don't think he's going to score for a couple of games. I hope it doesn't, and I hope he gets the 20th and then goes on He's already got 20 for the season, but he did get one in the FA Cup, so it doesn't count towards his league talent. I hope it doesn't, and I hope it doesn't play on his mind, because obviously I want him to go on and get 30, 40 if he can. For this game, I've gone for a 1-1 draw, similar to Mr. Woodmansey. I've gone for Thomas Asante to score for the Albion, and Fours to score for the Borough. Again, wouldn't be disappointed if I'm incorrect and that Tuba gets 1, 2, 3, dare I say, just keeps on scoring for forever and a day. Whatever, ladies and gentlemen, a nice quick and painless one for you there. Just the 3 games to recap from last week, and the 3 games to pick for this upcoming week. Thank you to these 2 gentlemen for joining in once again. Obviously, sorely missed Mr. Mo, but I'm sure he'll be back next week. Salute to one of the fallen for one of the weeks. Join us again this time next week, or roughly this time next week, where we're going to go through the next set of fixtures, break down the ones that have just been, and we'll give you some more shenanigans and nonsense. So until then, you stay classy, planet Earth, and we'll see you next time.
So there you go. What do you think of that? Matt was sorely missed, but I think we managed to hold down the fort. At least I think we did. Before you leave us, if you haven't clicked that subscribe button before, now's the time. Do it now. Share the podcast around. We'd love you to share it. It'd be a big deal for us if you could share it with other people. We'd appreciate it. You can get in touch with us. It's easy to do. Jump over to our website, thecookiecast.com. Click any of the buttons there. There's an email button for you to get in touch with us. That's it for this one. I believe Matt's going to be back next week, so tune in to see if that is true. Until then, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.